You know, the danger is the icon, the work of art, the Goya, you have to be careful of. I try to shoot photography in its condition, in its presence. I don't try to improve lighting, I don't try to change lighting. I try to capture what is there. Sometimes if you're too close, you get no detail of the surroundings, but in this case, I try to give you everything. In the case of this other photo here, of the astonished-looking government soldiers, they're astonished because one of their colleagues has been killed, and there's a little girl that's killed as well in the picture. She's dead. So what I've tried to do is to show you as much as I can, to give you a chance to learn about the environment, the clothing of the soldiers. And night was coming, it was dusk, it was still daylight, still opportunity to shoot pictures. You could feel in the atmosphere danger, and suddenly, without any warning, crunch, 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 and thousands of rounds of AK-47 bullets, ammunition was coming towards me, and I ran from the road, and I was bleeding in between my legs and down all my both legs. And I crawled across the road, and I pulled my trousers down to make sure my manhood was still there, if you can understand what I mean. I crawled down the road on my stomach, and there were some more paratroopers, and they took me, and they took me into a house, and they gave me a morphine, and then they put me on a truck, and they went back to the front. So I thought, take your mind away from the situation, make photos. So I got my cameras out, and I started photographing the other wounded soldiers being put on the truck. These are not extraordinary photographs, because, you know, I was on morphine, I was high like a drug addict. And this man here was kicking me because he was dying. He was the man who was next to me when the shell went off, but he took all the shell in the stomach. And this is his last plea for life, for help. I was aware of the fact that my injuries were not serious. They were painful, but I knew I wasn't going to die. So I was suffering great shock and great relief. But at the same time, seeing my own blood was a lesson for me, because how can you photograph other people's pain when you don't know the value of pain? I found a building just a few miles from where I was injured. For some reason it was strange, and I wandered in the building, and I discovered I was in the madhouse of Phnom Penh, mental hospital. And I went into these rooms, and I saw these insane women in the cells doing Oriental dance in a very graceful way, very beautiful way. And then I started making the parallels about war and about madness and about culture and dignity. And all these things are like all woven into one another. They're all there, whether you like it or not. They are there. I think in this contact sheet is a perfect example of beauty, the way I meant it, the way I saw it. They look as if they're lying on a stage, theatre. But of course, theatre does exist in real life. I mean, on the streets of our capitals, there is a form of natural theatre that is manifested by everyday life. My whole life has been a theatre of war. I regret it. I now spend most of my time in the English countryside photographing landscapes. It's very difficult to surrender 20 years of warfare and try to engage in peace. The photographs looked like battlefields. There was a threatening anger in the photographs. But the area where I live is full of magic and history. It's the area where King Arthur and King Alfred, it was the beginning of English history in my imagination. But this area where I live is haunted by the ghost of kingmakers and war, you know, English war. So therefore I'm living in the beginning of English history, which was violent. And so in a way I have the spirits of violence plus the negatives in my filing cabinets, I am kind of damaged, probably permanently, by the fact that even though I photograph English landscape and still live photos of flowers and things like that now, I may be fooling myself to thinking I can escape from this lifetime of persecution that I gave to myself.